We are in the Bronx. Yankee Stadium is this week's stop on ESPN's Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. A revitalized division rival, the Baltimore Orioles, are in town for the rubber match of this three-game series against the New York Yankees. It has been 6 months since these two teams met up in the playoffs last year. Tonight, we'll take stock of how the Yankees and Orioles stack up in the American League East. Plus, two of the hottest hitters in baseball are in the Sunday night spotlight. The Orioles' Chris Davis, who's enjoying an incredible start to the 2013 season, worthy of the record books, and the Yankees' red-hot Robinson Cano. What does the future hold for the All-Star second baseman? One of the Yankees stoppers, Hiroki Kuroda, is on the mound tonight for the Yankees as they try to take the series from the O's. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Mas. And in part by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Back here on a cool night in the Bronx, Hiroki Kuroda, second year as a Yankee, will take them out, his third start of the season, as he tries to pitch the Yankees to a series win over the Baltimore Orioles. Hi, everybody. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, glad you're with us tonight here in the Bronx. This is turning into a pretty good rivalry between the regular season last year, the division series last year, and now the Orioles are back trying to win this series and trying to prove to everybody they can get at least as far as they got last year, and they've got a pretty talented bunch.
They got a really talented bunch, and it's led by Adam Jones, who's become a superstar in this league. Last year, a terrible postseason. there was some concern. How would we start out the 2013 season? Would there be a carryover? Absolutely not. You see the numbers, hitting .426 so far in the young season. But that doesn't happen if the guy behind him's struggling, and the guy behind him's Chris Davis, and he is not struggling. He also hitting over 400, 19 RBIs already this season, and with these two guys as a 1-2 punch, there's not many better in the league.
The Orioles lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. For the New York Yankees, they are missing so many key players, so many guys out with injuries, and they'll be out for several more weeks. Robinson Cano's in there. He's as hot as anybody right now, but some new Yankees, Oral, are really contributing to the team's cause.
Yeah, when you look at the Yankees and you think about backups, they don't turn to backups. They turn to stars, and these are guys that have produced in this American League East. I'll tell you what, you look at Vernon Wells, 3-time All-Star. He's leading this team in home runs with Travis Hafner. Another veteran has helped them. And Kevin Youkilis, an arch enemy, is bringing passion and intensity and leading the team in hitting at .368. Veterans, stars, rejuvenated by the pinstripes.
And Kuroda on the mound came over last year to the Yankees after a number of successful years with the Dodgers, and as you can see, put up some really good numbers for the Yankees last year, moving from the National League West to the American League East, moving from a pitcher's park to a hitter's park, but still very consistent, put up some good numbers. 38 years of age. Got hit by a comebacker off the middle finger on his right hand 2 starts ago, but he is okay. Nate McLouth is in the box. And we are underway. First pitch swinging. Ground ball down to first, and Overbay will take it himself for out number 1. McLouth retired, 3 unassisted to get the ball game underway here tonight. And that'll bring up Manny Machado, just 20 years of age. A very talented young third baseman for the Orioles. Came up last August. Hit .262 last year with the Orioles. And hit a home run off Kuroda in Game 3 of the division series. Shows bunt. And he takes a strike, says Manny Gonzalez, the home plate umpire. At the attention of Youkilis down at third.
And a mini shift on Machado right there. What, handful of at-bats against the Yankees? They already know him. That's advanced scouting, Dan.
Just a little bit low, a ball and a strike. Well, the Orioles think that this guy's got all the talent and the potential in the world. Not just that, but the IQ, the poise. Buck Showalter's a big fan of Manny Machado.
And he's a big fan of any young player or any Oriole that plays good defense. Buck Showalter thought that last year they turned their season around when Manny Machado, who is going to be a shortstop someday, really came in and solidified third base and that defensive hole that they had there.
Yeah, Mark Reynolds went from third to first, played a much better first base than he was playing at third. Reynolds now with the Indians. Swing and a miss, good movement on that pitch from Kuroda, and the count is 2-2. Kuroda was not originally scheduled to get this start. This was to have been Andy Pettit's start, but he's had some back spasms. As a weak chopper is hit to first, Overbay will make another play himself for out number 2. So Pettit sent back a little bit, is supposed to throw on the side Tuesday, make his next start on Friday. The Yankees also had a couple of rainouts this past week in Cleveland, so that Skip Nova, Hughes got pushed back. He struggled in his start. But you were talking about it this morning. For the Yankees, Rocky, to overcome their injuries, they're going to have to get offense from unexpected sources, which so far they're getting. And they really need Sabathia, Pettit, and Kuroda to be healthy and to be effective.
Yeah, 30, 32 starts from each one of those 3 guys. And, then you mix and match for the next, 70 games or 80 games. That's the only way they can go about it. And, these guys can do it, though. They all 3 of them know how to pitch, so you can defend with them easier.
Lined up the middle, right over the head of Kuroda into center field, and that's a 2-out base hit for Nick Markakis.
A couple starts ago, Hiroki Kuroda got a ball approximately like this, but it was a ground ball, and he hit it off his right pitching hand there. He tried to use the glove, and a little better idea to use the hand with the glove on than the bare hand, which he injured a couple days ago. But I think that that is all better as far as that bruise on the finger. If
there's any remnants of it, it'll be in his two-seam fastball to lefties and his split finger. He was having a tendency to spike it.
Well, that's the approach you have to have against a sinker ball or a guy that's going to throw balls that are running away from lefties. You got to think up the middle the other way, and that's what Markakis did, hitting that ball right back at him.
And look at the early numbers for Adam Jones, an all-star and a Gold Glover a year ago for the Orioles. A member of Team USA at the WBC and off to a great start this year, hitting .426. And the guy on deck, Chris Davis, is hitting .405 with 6 homers already. So a lot of punch in the middle of the lineup for the Orioles in the first couple of weeks of the season. And the play on to second from Nix to Cano to force the lead runner and end the inning. Robinson Cano batting third. We'll see him in the bottom of the first when the Yankees come up. Scores. We go to the bottom of the first here in the Bronx. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. The Orioles and the Yankees as we take a look at the starting lineup for the Yankees now. Brought to you by Taco Bell, and they're still waiting for Brett Gardner to get going, both with the bat and on the base paths. Looking to see him steal 49, 47 bases like he did 2 and 3 years ago. One guy who's a little bit cold early, but that doesn't last long when you have the talent of Robinson Cano. He's 11 for 19 with 7 extra base hits in his last 4 games. On the mound tonight, Oral for the Orioles, left-hander Wei-Yin Chen.
Well, now in his sophomore season, a nice rookie campaign last year, we're going to see him throw his fastball into righties today. That's going to be a key pitch, and then the changeup away. To the left-handers tonight, he will use his breaking ball, but you won't see that as much to the righties.
The Yankees, in spite of all the injuries they have with Jeter, Granderson, Teixeira, and Rodriguez all out, they are still second in the American League in home runs and second in the American League in runs per game. A-Rod is in the house tonight. Granderson is here as well. The Yankees have been getting great contributions in the early going from some of the newcomers like Kevin Youkilis, Vernon Wells, Travis Hafner, who's not in the lineup tonight. Gardner to lead it off. He'll be followed by Wells and then Cano against Chen. And Machado is away and on the grass at third base in case Gardner tries to drop one down. Outside corner with the knees for a strike. Chen made 32 starts last year for the Orioles. Nobody else on the staff made more than 20. They used 12 different starting pitchers, guys, and all 12 of them made at least 2 starts. Yet they won 93 games. But this was as close to a constant as Buck Showalter had in his rotation all season long.
Their rotation was a revolving door. Their roster was a revolving door, and Buck really likes the fact that they have a very flexible roster again. They're one of the deeper organizations that can reach down into Double and Triple A and find parts that he can use.
Used 52 players last year. and wound up making the postseason and took the Yankees to 5 games in the division series. A series where neither team hit much at all other than Raul Ibanez at key moments. Remember the 2 home run game to win game 3 right in this ballpark.
They've really developed a culture about, you have to produce to stay on the big league team. You have to produce if you're on the big league roster to stay in the lineup. And they are not locked into long-term big money contracts. They are locked into baseball players that have passion and are ready to go play every day.
Yeah, that's a big thing that when you talk to Buck Showalter about his team, he said we have a group of baseball players. They're baseball junkies. They talk baseball. They live, eat, and breathe baseball. And, besides probably Markakis, Wieters, and Jones, 3 guys who are probably are never going to get out of the lineup because of poor play. The rest of them are expendable.
Popped up on the infield. And Hardy, the shortstop, there for out number 1.
Now don't tell that to J.J. Hardy with the Gold Glove there at shortstop that he's expendable, okay?
No, but if he struggles dramatically, Machado can move over. They can put someone else at third. I mean, they have options for them. They don't have options for catcher, right field, and center field. And you saw that last year when Markakis went out of the lineup. The last month of the season and the postseason, they struggled offensively.
Here's Vernon Wells. Picked up at a deal from the Angels late in the spring, and you can see how he has produced. Rejuvenated, perhaps, as he did not figure to be playing a whole lot with the Angels. He talked before the game and has spoken before about how his dad, for years and years, going back to when he broke in with Toronto, said to him, "I always envision you playing in pinstripes at some point." Wells pops it up. Foul territory, playable for Davis, and just like that, 2 down. I guess, guys, one of the big questions for the Yankees is, will the Wellses and the Hafners and the Overbays, will they keep contributing at the level they have been as long as the Yankees need them to until the cavalry shows up?
Well, that's the big question. And yeah, the history says probably not, especially, Vernon Wells struggled in Los Angeles with the Angels. Lyle Overby struggled in Toronto. Travis Hafner struggled in Cleveland. I mean, can they contain this or maintain this for the rest of the season or until these guys get back? That's something Joe Girardi's hoping for, I'm sure.
Here's Cano, 2 down, nobody on.
And if they do continue producing when the Teixeiras come back and the Grandersons come back and the Jeters come back, where do they fit in? And it'll be a good problem for Joe Girardi to have, but you're going to have to try and keep people happy too.
Cano, as we mentioned, has been on a tear, 11 for 19 in his last 4 games, hitting .333 now on the young season. He's had Youkilis hitting behind him in every game this season. Cano's actually hit second more than third, but down in the 3 spot tonight. Youkilis hitting cleanup. Vernon Wells, who's hitting well, up in the 2 spot, and that allowed Joe Girardi to split up Gardner and Cano, a couple of left-handed batters.
The Yankees haven't faced many left-handed starters. They've got a spurt here now coming up. And I'll tell you, Robinson Cano in the 3 hole is a great place, but they moved him up in that 2 hole because they needed a quality hitter behind him and they wanted him to get some pitches. But now with a lefty on the mound, Vernon Wells can slot in there, and they're a little deeper and thicker earlier in the lineup.
Chases a ball up and in, strikes out to end the inning as Chen gets the Yankees in order. Chris Davis putting up incredible numbers in the first couple of weeks will lead off the second for the O's. Top second here in the Bronx. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney, and the Baltimore Orioles here to take on the New York Yankees. The Yankees winning on Friday, the Orioles winning yesterday afternoon, and here's Chris Davis. And what an incredible opening to the season Davis has had, especially the first 4 games. Hit a home run in each of the first 4 and drove in 16 runs in his first 4 games. A major league record. First pitch swinging. Chopper to the mound, on to first, just like that. 1 down as we send it down to Buster Olney.
Guys, as Chris Davis came off of last season with 33 home runs and was swinging the bat well in spring training, Buck Showalter told him, write down those things that you feel so you'll have that as perspective in the future. Now, what Davis told me is that he really feels like he's been much more patient this year. He, of course, had almost 1,000 plate appearances with the Rangers. He could never establish himself there. He's certainly establishing himself with the Orioles last year and this year.
All right, Buster, thanks. And Davis now the regular first baseman who wound up playing some outfield last year, but he's improved his defense as well. And Orel, if they ever need an emergency arm out of the pen, as we saw last year, he's the guy there too.
Yeah, he pitched back in college, and he can touch 91 from the slab in the middle of the diamond.
Here's Matt Wieters. Swings over the top of the off-speed pitch, quickly 0-2. Wieters hitting just 189 so far this year. Getting a ton of credit in Orioles circles for the work that he has done with the pitching staff over the last couple of years and the importance he places upon that. Fouls it off.
Well, this Oriole team was really kind of looked at as a bunch of casts off with a few young stars that really hadn't hit their stride now. But now you look at them, they're built like a normal championship baseball team with strong gold gloves up the middle. Wieters up the middle. J.J. Hardy with a gold glove last year up the middle at shortstop. And then Adam Jones in center with a gold glove.
Backhanded by Cano. Flip to first, 2 down.
And then the job their bullpen does. Talk about a championship bullpen. The way their bullpen can come through from all different angles and shut you down. A great closer at the end with Johnson. And they're just continuing to work on the pieces in the rotation, but they could be good for a long time to come if they can figure out the rotation.
Well, that's what I want to ask you. Outside Baltimore, this team kind of exploded onto the scene. Maybe the Orioles felt this was coming, but not a lot of other people thought last year was coming. Are they here to stay now?
I think so, because of what they have coming, and they have some power arms coming in their minor league system. And when Buck Showalter took the job, I was with him. And I said, what are you thinking? Are you crazy going to Baltimore with the Red Sox in the same division, Red Sox and the Yankees and the Rays? And he said, this team can win in a few years. I guarantee it, because I've seen what they have. And I said, well, I don't know what you're seeing, but you're crazy. And lo and behold, 2 years later, they're in the postseason, and they look like they have a chance to get back in this year if they all stay healthy.
There's a ball crushed down the left field line, but foul.
Buck has done a great job with his coaching staff communicating to all these players on what it's going to take for them individually to win and succeed at this level, and breaking them down and showing them what to focus on in their workouts and in their practices, and then communicating to the whole team on what it's going to take as a team to win. And they have all bought in to Buck ball.
Well, they're bringing in the swinging at every pitch Kuroda throws up there. There you go. Apparently they don't want Cervelli to catch any.
Kuroda trying to keep the ball down. He's had success when he's gotten the ball down so far tonight.
Well, he made a great transition from the National League and Dodger Stadium, where he was more of a fly ball pitcher. But here, knowing that right field is coming up against you, the big, powerful American League East, he's gotten a lot more grounders last year.
Just missed, and Kuroda had taken a couple of steps toward the first base dugout.
He's gotten more ground balls, and he might have gotten squeezed on this one right here. This looks like a strike to me, but K-Zone's got it outside.
That's a foot outside. Come on.
As always, the truth is somewhere in the middle of your two opinions when it comes to balls and strikes.
I'm going with K-Zone.
2-2. Chop foul.
I really think that differential in the ground balls from the National League West, the American League East, is really because he faces a lot of left-handed hitters, being a right-handed pitcher here with the Yankees, and he's trying to keep the ball down to get ground balls, to guard away from the fly ball to right field, the easy home run here in Yankee Stadium.
Hardy hits it off the end of the bat into right center for a base hit. You give Hardy a lot of credit. He fouled off some pretty good pitches by Kuroda in that at bat, as Kuroda has to back up the throw back to the infield. Well, when you talk about the Orioles and what they accomplished last year, they did some incredible things. The best winning percentage in Major League history in one-run games, an equally ridiculous 16-2 mark in extra innings. Didn't lose a game all year when they had the lead at the end of 7 innings, and they went to the playoffs for the first time since '97 to beat Texas in the wild card game, and then lost in 5 in the division series to the Yankees. So on the one hand, you look at that 29-9 and 16-2, and you say, well, they can't possibly do that again. But on the other hand, you look at their nucleus, a lot of young players coming into their prime, and you look at guys like Markakis, injured last year, healthy now, and wonder how high the upside is for the Orioles. Ryan Flaherty taps out to end the inning. Kevin Youkilis will lead it off for the Yankees in the bottom of the second. For the weekend series, no scores. We go to the bottom of the second. The Orioles, by the way, last year had 3 series here in New York. They won all 3 of them. Took 2 out of 3 in all 3 series. Kevin Youkilis leads off the bottom of the second for the Yankees. Off to a great start, hitting .368 with a couple of home runs. And with Alex Rodriguez out for who knows how long, Youkilis becomes that much more important. Of course, he can play third and first. They've got him at third right now, with Overbay playing for the injured Teixeira at first. Still looks a little bit different. No goatee and pinstripes. Just still takes some getting used to when you look at Kevin Youkilis.
Same stance, same dirty helmet. I'm sure he's still sweating a lot.
High drive right center, but playable. Markakis one down. Joe Girardi telling us before the game, Earl, that he thinks Youkilis' personality has blended in almost seamlessly in the Yankee clubhouse.
Yeah, he's a very large personality, but it's more about passion and intensity about every pitch in the game, and Joe really loves that, especially now with the focus being on all the injured player who's going to lead in the dugout, and Kevin is one of those guys.
Yeah, his reputation in Boston later, it's his latter years there where, all he cares about is at bats and his hits, and he gets mad every time he makes an out, and starting to wear on the guys, but I love it. I personally love a guy that takes every at bat like it might be his last.
Ben Francisco. That's a high fly ball to left field. And McLouth is there, 2 down. Francisco released by Cleveland and then during the spring and then signed by the Yankees. Major League Baseball continues this week on ESPN and ESPN2 tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. Monday Night Baseball on ESPN. It will be the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cincinnati Reds, and you can see the finale of that series as well Wednesday night on ESPN2 from Great American Ballpark. Phillies and Reds again. Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA. Wednesday Night Baseball presented by T-Mobile. Off the glove of Machado, it'll squirt into left field, and that's a base hit for Brennan Bosch, another guy who was not a part of the Yankee organization as spring training began. He was released late by the Tigers and picked up by the Yankees. They've been searching, or they were searching, for all kinds of offense wherever they could find it, and Bosch has himself a base hit.
Yeah, this is an interesting defensive alignment. You got the shift going on, but look at Machado. He's playing like on the grass almost. Why wouldn't he move back a few steps to give him some more range on balls hit like that? If you don't think a guy's going to hit the ball that way, move back and give yourself some room just in case he does. But playing on the grass, he's not going to bunt. If he does, so what? With 2 outs, what's the deal?
So a base hit for Bosch.
I'm sure Buck will give us an explanation on why he was in the grass, but he's going to have to explain it to me because I don't understand it.
Well, with 2 out and nobody on, the hitter's looking to hit a double to get in a scoring position. I don't think Brennan Bosch is going to be trying to bunt for a hit. So I think that's one that you've got to lay on the bench, I think, in the defensive positioning there, not the young fella at third.
There's Francisco Cervelli off to a great start with the bat.
So we're blaming Buck.
Well,
let's do it. What the heck? He's friends.
He'll be texting us later.
Oh, yeah. I do get some interesting phone calls from him. Last year he called me and he said, give me 5 minutes, don't say a word, and then I'll call you back later. And he went on about the strike zone from left-handed pitchers to left-handed hitters he thought was a little erratic last year. And he went on for 5 minutes on why it was. And
you weren't allowed to say a thing?
Then he hung up, and the next day he called me back and he said, so what do you think? I'm like, oh my gosh, I've forgotten already.
I mean, Oro, you coached for him. You were the pitching coach when he was the manager down in Arlington. This is one of the more interesting guys in baseball, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the more intelligent guys in baseball. He grinds on baseball all the time, and that's a very fertile mind when it comes to breaking down a game, breaking down a player, evaluating a player. He is a bio junkie. He looks at their past and what he can predict for the future, and he looks at their skills that they bring. And like John said, it's detailed. And on subjects, you're a little odd sometimes.
Well, when he brought up in our meeting with him today, when he brought up about the Orioles players' wives, how it's a great group of wives, and that tells you that the players are going to all get along, and because the wives all get along, and I never knew a manager would concern himself with that, but apparently he does.
He's been in 4 spots: Yankees, Diamondbacks, Rangers, Orioles.
Well, he's always had a reputation for being detailed, but sometimes that has burned players out on him, and I think he has really learned and backed off, and he is so low-key and the most relaxed I've ever seen him the last couple of years.
Well, he went into his office today and he's walking around in sweatpants and some shoes that had I don't know what underneath them.
Well, as you said, it looked like you stepped on a cupcake. Black and orange cupcake. The one thing that he has done when he takes over a team, they get better. In his second full season, the Yankees improved by 12 wins. The Diamondbacks improved by 35. Texas improved by 18. And then last year, his second full season at the helm of the Orioles, they improved by 24 wins from 69 to 93.
Got a good story about that purple Diamondbacks that he put together when we have time.
Go for it.
Well, he went to every hardware store that mixes paint. He went to Home Depot. He went to Lowe's. He went to all these different places. Couldn't find the right purple. He's at a football game at LSU in their locker room before the game, and he sees the purple on the carpet in their locker room. He asked if he could cut out a piece. He took it back to Arizona and said, "Get me this purple. This is the color I need." Beautiful man.
Nothing he misses, huh?
He was looking for the right purple, and he said that when he walked in there and he saw that carpet with that purple, he said that was the one I needed. I said, why? Oh my gosh, dude! I mean, if you put that much thought into just a color of a uniform, you can imagine what the rest of it's like.
He's a lot of fun to be around.
Oh.
He's a lot of fun to be around.
And one of the best sense of humors I've ever met in the game of baseball that people don't know about.
Again, the 2-2. Ground ball foul. Cervelli continues to battle Chen.
Cervelli has worked very, very hard to improve his offense. He's getting a little bit rewarded so far this year. Joe Girardi really appreciating the work that he's put in behind the plate and in the batter's box.
You know, with Russell Martin gone to Pittsburgh, it's Cervelli and Chris Stewart, and Cervelli getting more of the playing time by virtue of the way he's swinging the bat so far this year. Seeing a lot of pitches and doing a lot of damage. Count is full.
Yesterday I wanted to talk to him about Kuroda and how the finger was and the pitch selection for different people that are going to be on the Orioles, and he was on his way to the batting cage and had a moment for me, but he was really willing and wanted anxious to get in that cage, and he didn't come out of that cage for about another 35 minutes before I got a shot at him.
Bosch will be on the move.
3-2 count, and Buck signaled to Davis to hold him on.
Toward the right field corner. Markakis with room to make the catch, and Shen finally wins the battle and ends the inning. No score at the end of 2, and a Baseball Tonight update coming your way out of this break. Maybe a big sigh of relief for Phillies fans to see Roy Halladay pick up a win. 8 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, his 200th career win as the Phillies beat the Marlins 2-1. How about this? The Marlins in 12 games this year, guys, have scored 20 runs.
Well, if you're going to win a game and after struggling, it's going to be against them, and that's a perfect team for him to get right on because he can throw balls out of the zone. A young lineup that's over anxious. You know, this is Roy Halladay. You know, they think it's Roy Halladay from 2 or 3 years ago and not the Roy Halladay of now, but he still pitched well.
And Giancarlo Stanton wasn't even in there, out with a sore shoulder again. So a depleted Marlins lineup, even more so than usual. 0-2 the count on Nolan Reimold, who was the DH tonight for the Orioles. A guy who missed most of last year with injuries, hitting .222 so far this year. Hit a home run in yesterday's game, one of 3 the Orioles hit.
And talking to Buck about Nolan, he says that left shoulder still is going to get stronger from that injury of last year, and he had so much atrophy. And being the front shoulder right-handed hitter, he should get stronger as the year goes on, and the swing should get better.
One, two. And a breaking ball. He's out in front of him, pulls foul. Well, that Reimold home run yesterday for the Orioles out of the DH spot was about the first big moment they've gotten out of the DH all year. They were 1 for 33 entering that at bat when Reimold hit the home run, and they're waiting for Wilson Betterman to get back. He's injured right now. They're hoping to have him by the 1st of June.
Yeah, he hits right-handers well, and it'd probably be a platoon DH with Reimold and Wilson Betterman against righties and Reimold against lefties. Until one of them just says, "I'll take this job." That's what Buck's waiting on. You know, when Betterman gets back, who's going to take it? And believe me, when you're 2 for 37 or whatever, that job's available.
Again, the 1-2. And it's in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes now on a Reimold. You don't often see a DH batting 9th, but that's the situation in which the Orioles find themselves right now because they're not getting any production out of that DH spot. Cool night, 51 degrees at game time. Flags blowing from left to right here at Yankee Stadium. There's a liner into right field, a base hit. Well, you got the update on Roy Halladay as one of the game's aces picked up a win today. Here are some other starting pitchers, guys, who are off to sensational starts this year. Paul Maholm has not given up a run, an earned run yet this year. Clay Buchholz took a no-hitter into the 8th inning today. And Masterson, Matt Harvey, who's the real deal, and Madison Bumgarner also off to great starts.
Matt Harvey was flirting with a no-hitter in his 3rd win there.
As was Buchholz today.
Yeah, it was. Got some nice arms and some nice starts for some guys.
I'd take that rotation.
Yeah.
How about the Braves? They just don't lose. Won again today. They have won 9 in a row. They are 11-1 on the season. They beat up Washington 9-0 today. Maholm got the win. Justin Upton hit another home run. And Gio Gonzalez got roughed up for the Nationals.
Well, that's got to be something. You go to a new team, and after what happened to him in Arizona last year, talking about Justin Upton, he gets off to this start. It's probably the weight of the world was lifted off of him once he got the call about the trade. I mean, he went to Atlanta, didn't miss a beat. And we did a game in spring training where he hit a couple long ones.
Long ones, yeah. And his brother B.J. Upton, who had really been struggling, he broke out today, 3 for 5 with a couple of doubles.
Don't forget Mr. Gaddis over there, doing pretty well.
Yeah, saw he had an RBI double earlier today. Evan Gaddis, one of the real good human interest stories in baseball so far this year. And once Brian McCann comes back, the Braves are going to have to work hard to find some at bats for him. But got to find a way to keep him in the lineup somehow. Leadoff man at first, Reimold. Nate McLouth is the batter. No score, 3rd inning here in the Bronx. And the fly ball pretty well hit to left field. Wells tracking back, makes the catch just shy of the track. McLouth retired and Reimold back to first. And Wells making the play for out number 1, and that'll bring up Manny Machado. What do you guys think about when you see whether, you know, we talk about Trout and Harper so much, but again, this kid's only 20 and he was up last year and playing in the postseason. What's the toughest thing for a 19, 20-year-old kid to do when he comes to the big leagues?
I think the hardest thing would have been for me was changing positions once he got to the big leagues. I mean, here's a guy who was a high school shortstop down in Miami. He got to the minor leagues as a shortstop. You know, he comes up to big leagues, say, okay, you're going to play 3rd now, and he made it. But you know, when you're gifted athletically like he is, the transition is got to be a lot easier than someone who is not as gifted an athlete as Machado is. But you know, he's a smart player. He's you know, you see now. Remember last year they brought him up. He hit in the bottom of the order just to kind of protect him. Now Buck's saying, hey, you're hitting second. Go get him, boy. You know, and he's doing a great job.
If you're going to play on Buck Showalter's team, you have to come in and play defense. He will wait for the bat, but he will not wait for the glove. And Machado took to third base amazingly and showed great baseball instincts last year. Playing third base, watch this chopper. Man on first and third, he fakes and then he comes around and gets the guy at third in a rundown. This is a kid who got transferred to the position, was playing shortstop in the minor leagues, came up here. They moved him to third base after just a few games down in the minor leagues at third, and he came up and showed him he had a baseball clock, as Buck would say, and the instincts. That's a veteran move.
Now, do you guys think his future is eventually back at shortstop, or now that he's moved to third and he's a pretty big kid, is he going to stay at third?
He reminds me of a young Alex Rodriguez. Just the lever system that he has, the big shoulders, and how strong, and he's going to fill out. So he might be able to stay there. I think Buck still projects him as a possible shortstop, but they've got that filled now with J.J. Hardy, so he's going to be at third for a while.
It's pretty good left side of the infield, too. It's a Gold Glover and Hardy, and Machado's has a chance someday to win a Gold Glove. You know, that's a very comforting feeling for a pitcher, I would imagine.
It is, and you got some range there if you got two shortstops on the left side.
Let's go down to Buster for more.
Guys, we hear about the advanced defensive metrics. Well, so far early this season, Manny Machado has 4 runs saved according to metrics. That leads all third basemen in the major leagues.
And as we've mentioned, as the guys mentioned a little bit earlier, already 3 Gold Glovers on the field at catcher, short, and center for the Orioles. One hopper to second. To the bag one and on to first. Double play. Inning over. No score. Going to the bottom of the third. By Taco Bell. Bottom of the third in the Bronx. No score. Orioles and Yankees. Orioles out hitting the Yankees 3-1 in the early going. Alex Rodriguez in the ballpark tonight. One of the many injured Yankees trying to work their way back to health and into the Yankee lineup. Lyle Overbay is up. Sharply hit ground ball to second, and it gets under the glove and body of Ryan Flaherty into right field. We'll wait for the scoring as Overbay reaches. Overbay playing for an injured Yankee as well. And Mark Teixeira for the latest on all those injured Bombers. Here's Buster Olney.
Guys, you mentioned the big question is, when are those reinforcements going to arrive? Derek Jeter is in Florida. He's doing baseball activities, but he hasn't yet started a second version of spring training, which is what he's going to need before coming back. The Yankees really don't have any idea when he's going to come back. Curtis Granderson and Mark Teixeira are making progress, and if they don't have setbacks, the Yankees are hopeful they'll be back in early May. And then there's the case of Alex Rodriguez. Doctors are telling the Yankees that Alex can be back sometime around the All-Star break if he doesn't have any setbacks after having that hip surgery. But of course, guys, you have all of that PED stuff swirling around them. He is being investigated by Major League Baseball, and the Yankees don't know if he's going to be suspended.
Well, the latest news coming this week, a report out that a representative of Rodriguez allegedly tried to purchase documents from the biogenesis clinic in Florida in order to get rid of the evidence. And again, baseball at this point, it does not appear has the power to go find all the evidence they're looking for. But right now, and Alex Rodriguez is not alone, but once again, he's at the eye of the storm when this kind of stuff comes up.
And Alex's spokesman has flatly denied that happened.
Yeah. Here's Jason Nix starting at shortstop tonight. Remember, Eduardo Nunez is injured as well. Was hit by a pitch a couple of days ago. Could be available for defense tonight, but Nix getting the start again at short. You know, one thing I know that both of you guys have pointed to is that the American League East has the look of a division where anybody could finish first and anybody could finish last. So if the Yankees can kind of tread water till some of the regulars get back, it does not appear that there's going to be a team that's just going to blow away from the rest of the field in the early going. Right now, the Red Sox are the leaders at 7-4.
And the team that looks stacked with Jose Reyes and all the imports from Miami and R.A. Dickey, the Cy Young from the National League, going there. R.A. got back on track in his last outing. He started off slow at 0-2, and now Reyes is out indefinitely with a very bad ankle. And so it's really tightening already just by the rosters and the injuries.
And you see Teixeira, Granderson in the Yankee dugout.
The heart of the order on the bench.
Wieters looking down to Machado, who takes charge in foul territory and makes the catch to retire Nix. Has anything happened in the division, guys, that makes you think that one of the teams is significantly better or worse than you thought they might be at the beginning of the season?
No, nothing at all. I think Toronto getting off to the start that they got off to, I think people were thinking, I think people thought they were going to go 162-0, but after the trade, but we kind of figured that wouldn't happen, being the analysts that we are.
I think that Boston, though, at 7-4, the reason there is John Lester and Clay Buchholz. Now, you did not pencil them in as two aces at a 1-2 severe hard punch the way they've started out. We had a big question marks next to them, but they've answered that so far. And I think that's why Boston's on top at 7-4 so far.
I like Boston's roster because they don't have a superstar at every position. They have grinders and baseball players who, play the game hard and, like Kevin Youkilis used to be when he was in Boston. They every game, this might be my last one. And for some of them, you never know. But I like that roster now better than I did the last couple years.
Gardner, the batter, and he fouls it back, a ball and a strike on the Yankee center fielder who popped up his first time up. Tampa Bay right now, they're going to catch it, and you figure they're going to have good pitching, but other than Longoria and Zobrist, they're struggling to hit the ball.
Evan Longoria is going to have a huge year for them to really be at the top of the pack.
Yeah, and you worry that if they're not in first place at the trade deadline, will David Price be thrown out there in a trade with someone to try to get more younger players to come back to that roster?
Wells waiting on deck, a ball and 2 strikes, the count on a Gardner. The lead at first by Overbay. Davis playing off the bag, kind of a step in front of the runner as Gardner sprays it foul again.
Well, Buck Showalter not real sure of Chris Davis's range down there at first, so just giving him a little bit of a head start. Chen on the mound does a very good job with a very short leg kick, holding runners, can be very deceptive. And Chris Davis, you see the glove side is right there closer to the bag, so the tag's kind of easy. The ball takes him right to the bag.
Yeah, and I think you would see a different positioning if Brett Gardner was on first, but Lyle Overbay probably not going to run here.
Down the left field line, slicing back out of play.
Now, Buck has told all the minor league managers and pitching coaches with the Baltimore organization that he don't want to see anybody come up here higher than a 1-3 to home plate. And he doesn't want anybody not to come up here that can't bunt. That they took a videotape of their big league team doing cutoffs and relays in spring training from high home position, and they sent that to all the minor league managers and said, this is the way we are going to do it. There is an Oriole, a Buck Showalter way to play baseball.
Sharply hit to third. There's one and two. Tough to double up Gardner, but they go around the horn to get it done and end the bottom of the third.
To you by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
I'm Adam Jones, and this is my position. I tell our kids all the time, pick up a glove, pick up a bat, play as many games as you can. You have an opportunity of a lifetime. My mom, she wanted me to maximize my opportunities. That gave me a sense of confidence, at such a young age of 17, and I just ran with it. Me sticking with baseball, it was the right opportunity.
Today we announced that Adam Jones will be a Baltimore Oriole, we hope, for his whole life.
Hit the deep left. Fight that baby. Bye-bye. Mr. Jones.
My ritual after every home run is to tap my left shoulder twice. It is paying homage to my grandmother and mother. My family is the greatest influence I have, and they make me who I am.
And you read a little bit about Adam Jones' upbringing, and he talks himself about himself always being an underdog. He was cut from a couple of age group USA teams when he was a teenager, so for him to play on Team USA in the World Baseball Classic this spring meant an awful lot to him. Picked up in a trade from Seattle, the Eric Bedard deal a few years back, and the guys between the speed and the power and the defense, he has turned himself into one of the better all-round outfielders in the game today.
He mentioned his first big league camp to me with some of the veterans that were on that Seattle team, and they basically told him, shut your mouth, watch and listen. And he said, I've taken that to heart, and now he's become one of the leaders on this team. Buck Showalter told us in the meeting with him that his energy, he's a big high energy guy, and he hopes that that doesn't fizzle out anytime soon.
Jones is on deck as Nick Markakis leads off the inning, and it's a 2-0 count on the Oriole right fielder, a career-long Oriole. So a guy who played on some pretty bad teams through some pretty lean years. The Orioles weren't even a 500 team for 14 years in a row between 1998 and 2011. Strike right there, 2-2 on Markakis. 3 hits allowed so far by Kuroda. Got a double play off the bat of Manny Machado to win the Oriole third inning. And there for strike 3 called. First of the night for Kuroda. Here comes Jones as we send it down to Buster.
Guys, the Orioles season, of course, was ended here last year in 2012 in the playoffs against the Yankees. And I asked Adam Jones, what did you take out of that series? And he said, unfinished business. He said it's like taking a bite out of a sandwich and you want to go back and finish the meal. And he actually liked the idea that the Orioles didn't make a lot of big moves because he feels like this group of players has gone through a shared experience. They all understand what they had to overcome.
And you saw the numbers that Jones put up in that series as he hits a tapper to short. 2 down. And Oral, you and I were doing the series for ESPN Radio, and I remember you saying on a number of occasions, it looks like Jones is trying to win the game all by himself. Just trying to carry too much of the load in that playoff series against the Yankees.
The sky's the limit. The potential is still there for him to be a year in and year out superstar. But the one thing he's going to have to continue to mature in is understanding getting strikes, and especially in crucial situations, because he is labeled in every opposing pitcher's meeting. The scouting report is, don't let this guy beat you. And so until he starts taking some key walks, he won't get strikes to hit all the time.
Quickly 2 down, and here's Chris Davis.
They're up there hacking. I can tell you that. I think Jones only has 1 walk this whole season.
I think you're right. This guy's going through the same process. He's got such great plate coverage, Chris Davis, that he has a tendency to go off the plate a lot. And the more he keeps the ball on the plate, his contact to damage ratio is unbelievable. But when he and Adam Jones creep off the plate as far as balls they can reach and have hit hard in the past, but not as consistently as strikes, that's when they struggle.
33 home runs a year ago for Davis. Shared the American League Player of the Week award in the last week of the regular season last year, and then won it in the first week of the regular season this year. That will drop foul. A guy who was with Texas. They had a lot of people vying for playing time. A lot of young players coming up at the same time, looking for time at first base down there. They had Justin Smoke. They've still got Moreland.
And he was left in a situation in Texas where, if he went a couple games without a hit, they put someone else in and set him, and he never got the consistent playing time in Texas. And look, they were in it to win championships and get in the postseason, so they didn't have the patience to wait. But last year Baltimore had that patience, and it paid off for them.
Great fastball that Kuroda runs back over the inside corner to strike him out. Bottom of the 4th, Robinson Cano due up second. And Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Nissan. Innovation that excites. And Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of MLB. Try targeted relief with the power of Bayer Advanced Aspirin. We go to the bottom of the fourth on a cool night here in New York. No score, Orioles and Yankees. Time to get some FaceTime, brought to you by Edward Jones. Buster Olney with the Buck Showalter.
Buck, what are you seeing in your pitcher so far?
I'm seeing a good pitcher on their club too. Chin's way in, starting out, like he did last year. He's first guy to win 12 games for us since I think 2007. He's solid, good young man, and he's going to give us a chance to win.
What do you think about your hitter's approach against Kuroda so far?
Well, he's tough. He's been tough on everybody. We shouldn't feel like he's picking on us. He's got a lot of things he can do with the baseball. Everything's got a little run to it, and you're going to have to give in to him a little bit and see that he's going to be able to locate the baseball. But he and Cervelli work well together, and there's a reason why he's so successful.
Buck, thanks.
That's it.
Yeah, he's a little more loosened up a little bit over the years, huh? Yeah. Here's Vernon Wells leading off the fourth against Wei-Yin Chen. What a cracky! You give him a makeover when he was working for us up in Bristol, or what?
He's a mess. When he first came there, I got calls from players that played for him or knew him, and they were like, "You're going to hate this guy." And the first day he was there, I fell in love with him, and we've been good friends ever since. He's a gem.
Wells is 0 for 2. And of course, both Showalter and Dan Duquette, the GM of the Orioles, have signed extensions through 2018. Wei-Yin Chen, as Buck just said in the interview with the Buster, the first Oriole pitcher to win 12 since 2007. Not necessarily that he is the leader of the staff, but as Buck Showalter said, he's solid. He'll give you a chance to win. Jason Hamill, Miguel Gonzalez, Jake Arrieta, Chris Tillman rounding out the Oriole rotation. And as we mentioned, 12 starters for them last year. 7 starters making at least 10 starts, or 11 on the season. And Chen, the only one to make more than 20 starts. And this rotation continued to evolve over the course of the year. Tommy Hunter, Brian Mattis were starters the first half, were sent down, came back as very effective relievers. Miguel Gonzalez came up at a terrific second half. But if we see the Orioles later in the season, we might be talking about guys like Kevin Gausman and Dylan Bundy by the time July or August rolls around.
2 exceptional power arms in their minor league system, and Bundy's on the 7-day DL with a strain in his forearm or something. And
I think they're just being really cautious with him because there's so much potential.
Gausman's at Double-A right now.
They like them both, and they think they're both big arms with a lot of life.
And you can see how highly rated they are, both in the Oriole organization and around baseball. And when you talk to Buck Showalter, he doesn't place one above the other. He says they are both incredibly talented young pitchers. Fastball inside, 2-2 on Cano.
And that's why you have a feeling that this organization, with a young center fielder and a young third baseman and a young catcher, that they're going to be good for a long time when these kids develop. And don't forget Zach Britton. A couple years ago he was the can't miss guy, and he struggled and some injuries.
He had a good outing yesterday.
And, yep,
in AAA.
And Buck made sure he let us know that.
Jair Jurgens is down there with them too, throwing the ball very well.
The insurance policies are there, and if one of the guys goes down, Hamill or whoever in the rotation, they have able arms to come in and fill in.
And Jake Arrieta has made great strides. He's in the rotation, only had 18 starts last year, but he is a big arm in the mid-90s with great change of speeds and breaking stuff that really could make a jump this year.
You look at that in contrast to the Yankee rotation. They've got obviously a former Cy Young Award winner, potential Hall of Famer in CC Sabathia. Kuroda's been terrific for them. Andy Pettitte, his credentials are tremendous as well. But 4-5, Nova's struggling, Hughes is struggling. They've got Phelps pitching in relief, went 4 shutout innings yesterday in relief of Hughes. And of course, this being New York, everything gets ratcheted up a notch, and a lot of people saying, well, get either Nova or Hughes out of there and put Phelps in there. But beyond that, the Yankees don't have that 7, 8, 9 kind of depth that the Orioles appear to have in terms of starting pitching.
And that's why the Yankees payroll is as high as it is year to year, because they're good. They know next year they're going to have to go out and get a starting pitcher somewhere, whatever's available, or trade for it. But they need someone else to go with those top 3.
Well, and it might be before next year if they can keep this thing afloat and keep going till the trade deadline and the All-Star break. They get in there, they'll make a move.
And I think, to me, that's the most difficult thing for the general managers in the American League East. When do you think you're out of it, or when do you think you can still win it? Because like I said, I think all 5 teams are about as equal as 5 teams can be as far as talent goes. And
because of the second wild card,
yeah,
there's less people moving pieces, so there's not as much opportunity midseason to grab those bats or arms.
And of course, with an unbalanced schedule, teams in this and all divisions, you'll play 76 of your 162 games against the 4 teams in your own division. Just an incredible number of games. It went with Houston coming to the American League and now 15 and 15. There were some slight changes in the way the schedule is set up. You now play 19 games against every other team in your division. Do you guys like 19 against these 4, 6 or 7 against everybody else in your league? Or would you like to see something, a little more balanced, say 12 against everybody in your division and 9 or 10 against everybody else in your league?
I like the more you play against your division, the better. I think that determines, a true champion in your division and, a wild card or whatever. But I love the interleague, but I think now maybe too much with 15 in each league. I think having an interleague series every series or every day there's a National League team playing an American League team, it might be too much.
So you would eliminate it or just reduce it?
I mean, I don't know what you do now, because is someone willing to move again?
They just made this change, right?
Yeah.
Horses out of the barn on that one.
I mean, I'm sure Houston wouldn't mind being back in the NL West, but that's no easy division either.
Or what about playing so many games against teams in your own division? Where do you stand?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you're competing against those guys. Now, I think some people think because of the extra wild card that can be unfair sometimes, that it should be a little bit more balanced throughout the whole league. Because if you're in a strong division, you're probably only going to get 1 team out of that division sometimes.
I said NL West. That was when I played. They were the NL West. They're the NL Central.
Moving to
clear that up.
Right, moving to the AL West
before Twitter goes nuts.
Euclid pops up.
Your Twitter account goes nuts?
I don't know. I don't read it anymore. But
2 down in the inning. Euclid is 0 for 2, and Ben Francisco will come up with Cano at first and 2 down. And that's one question about this division. Are all 5 of these teams going to beat themselves up so much that they'll all wind up with, say, 80-something wins? And maybe, even though the division appears to be strong as a whole, maybe it'll be a lot tougher to get a wild card out of this division.
A lot of people think that the American League West kind of favored to get a wild card out of there because of the Astros. I know Buster has talked to some baseball executives that say that the American League West might come down to what is your record against the Astros as far as who's going to win that division.
Astros lost to the Angels today. Both of those teams are now 4 and 8. The Angels taking 2 out of 3 in that series. Starting to show some signs. Josh Hamilton homered again today. Mike Trout hit a home run today.
C.J. Wilson had a good outing.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to need it. They're going to need all 3 of those guys in the 2, 3, 4 spot now that Trout's been moved to second in the lineup, which Mike Scioscia told us last week could happen at some point this season. We didn't realize it was going to be a few days after we saw him, but they think he could be a bigger run producer from the 2-hole as far as RBIs go, and he's protected now by Albert and Josh Hamilton. That's not a bad place to be.
That 9th inning 2-run double to win it yesterday by Pujols, a huge hit. The Angels were 2 and 8, looking at 2 and 9 until Pujols came up with that game-winning hit.
Might not get as many stolen bases in the 2-hole with Albert hitting behind him, because Albert doesn't like a lot of movement when he's hitting, and you don't want to lose his bat if Trout happens to steal second base when Albert's up.
2-2 to Francisco, line to center field. Jones is there, and the inning is over. Scoreless at the end of 4. The Great Hall, one of the highlights here at Yankee Stadium. Going to the 5th here in the Bronx on Sunday Night Baseball. Let's get some FaceTime brought to you by Edward Jones. Moments ago, we had a chance to visit with the Yankee manager, Joe Girardi. Joe, you talked to us before the game about how consistent Hiroki Kuroda is. What is it that makes him such a tough pitcher?
He knows how to pitch, number one, and he's got a number of weapons he can go to. And tonight it seems like he's got a great sinker. It seems like most of his outs have been ground ball outs, and they haven't put too many good swings on his good sinker tonight. 18
games with the Orioles last year, 5 more in the playoffs, starting off early again this year. How much of a rivalry is this developing into?
Well, I think it's pretty good. I think we ended up 12-11 against them last year, and it was that final game that put us over the hump. And then we're 1-1 so far, and they're a very good ball club. They have guys that hit the ball at the ballpark. They pitch well, and they have a good bullpen.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys.
Matt Wieters leading off the 5th. And that was a series, if you remember back to the division series last year, neither team hit very much at all. There were 2 3-2 games, a 2-1 game, and a 3-1 game in that series as Wieters lines a base into right field. Leadoff man aboard for Baltimore in the 5th. Game 1, the Yankees, remember that game was tied going to the 9th inning, and then Jim Johnson came in, and he'd been so good the whole season for the Orioles. They got 5 runs in the 9th inning off him. Raul Ibanez had the pinch hit home run into Game 3 to tie it, and then won it with a home run in the 12th. The Orioles won Games 2 and 4, and then CC Sabathia with a complete Game 4 hitter to win Game 5 as the Yankees won 3-1 and went on to the ALCS, where they were knocked out by the Detroit Tigers. But even though they didn't win the series, guys, to beat Texas in the wild card game, to take the Yankees the distance, to bounce back after some really tough losses, some losses in tough circumstances in that series, has to be something obviously that is going to help the Orioles continue to grow.
I think it makes them hungry, and you heard Buster mention Adam Jones, the hunger, and once you get that taste, you want to go back and continue to go back until you've won that ring. And Oral, I never won a world championship. You have, but that's every player's goal. And Baltimore now has got that taste, and they're going to try everything they can this year to get back there and do a lot better than what they did last year.
The world champion the last 2 out of 3 years, the San Francisco Giants, plays a lot of tight games in the regular season, and that really has been something that has helped them throughout the playoffs when it's really important on a daily basis in the regular season. Take that, and I think the Orioles are building that same callus of being numb to pressure situations and tight games.
The lead by Wieters. J.J. Hardy is the batter. And he pops it up third base side. Youkilis over for a look, but this is going to be well back into the seats.
Something that plays really well in tight games is good defense and a good bullpen.
They got both.
And they got both, and they had that in San Francisco also and still have it.
There's how they did it last year. Some of the big reasons why they won 93 games last year. Their bullpen is one of the more underrated aspects, I think, of any team around baseball. Jim Johnson had a sensational year last year, led the majors with 51 saves. And whether it's Strop and O'Day from the right side or Patton and Mattis from the left side, they get a lot of different looks. A lot of guys who can really get the job done down in the pen. Blocked nicely by Cervelli. The count 2-2 on Hardy.
And you could have all the weapons you want down in your bullpen. You have to have a manager and a pitching coach who knows how to utilize that and put these guys in situations where they have a chance to be successful. And I've already seen a couple times this year where Buck Showalter is, against Boston. He had Brian Mattis in the game. He pitched an inning. Jackie Bradley Jr. was leading off. They pinch hit Johnny Gomes. He immediately goes out the following inning. He brings in a righty, strikes out Gomes in the 8th inning, and he's a master at using his bullpen, but also making the other team use their bench up while he's making his changes.
One of the guys who goes unheralded so far is Rick Adair. And Rick, as a pitching coach, has done an outstanding job with this staff. He's been marvelous with getting things done as far as mechanical adjustments and mental adjustments with these pitchers. And I think that has worked hand in hand with the Bucks' genius of using the bullpen.
Perota glancing toward the runner now, comes set with the count 2-2. And it's high. 3-2. What are your thoughts, guys, here on starting the runner?
I think you have to tell yourself, can J.J. Hardy put this ball in play? And if you think he can put it in play, then you got to send him. And I think Buck's going to send him because it's been pretty dull. And I think it's time to start, opening things up for your hitters.
Especially this part of the order, down the bottom of the order with Flaherty and Reinhold coming up. So I think they're going to cause some action.
Not going. And the pitch hit in the air, back of third, foul territory. Youkilis has room. Playoff position is at stake on ESPN's NBA Wednesday doubleheader. Right down to the wire in the Western Conference. Will it be the Utah Jazz or the Los Angeles Lakers who grab the final playoff spot in the West? The Lakers, of course, trying to make do without Kobe Bryant the rest of the way. NBA Wednesday presented by State Farm. Coverage tips off with Kia NBA Countdown at 7 on ESPN and also live on Watch ESPN. Ryan Flaherty is the batter, grounded out back to the mound his first time up. No score, 5th inning here in the Bronx. Kobe Bryant with the Achilles injury, already undergoing surgery, hopes to be back at the outset of next season. But it has been an interesting and tough season, to say the least, for the Lakers, who are a game up on the Jazz, but the Jazz hold the tiebreaker for the 8th and final playoff spot in the West.
See if Dwight Howard can put the team on his back, and Paul Gasol. Kobe was doing everything he could when he was healthy.
And your reward, if you make it, is a first-round series against either the Spurs or the Thunder. So go get them.
Good luck.
A little better matchup if they get the Spurs.
The ball to strike the count on Flaherty, playing for the injured Brian Roberts. Roberts has missed so much time in recent years with a variety of injuries, and now he is on the DL at the outset of the season again with a hamstring problem. Ground ball hit to second. Cano on to Nix, who never caught it cleanly, but they're going to give him the out at second, saying that he did receive the ball cleanly and then lost it on the transfer to his bare hand. So the Yankees will force the lead runner.
This is a call that I don't get. I understand I'm trying to get it out of my glove, but where did that ball ever you consider it being caught? If an outfielder did that, would that be an out? No. If a catcher did it on a third strike, would that be considered a strike? Would he still have to throw to first base? Absolutely. I don't get that call at all. I don't get it. And I understand infielders have to try to get it out of their glove, and they're quick and they have great hands. But to me, every play that happens like that, to me, that's not a catch.
Most infielders, when they make the turn, really don't catch it. They deflect it into their throwing hand, and that's the catch when it gets into their throwing hand. And
where's the catch? The ball was moving in his glove. His hand wasn't even on the ball. I don't see where the catch is. They want to change all these rules, and they want to make things more easier for the umpire. We'll make that one.
So it goes as a fielder's choice for Flaherty. He's at the first, 2 down.
And we're not getting on Nix. We're getting on all middle infielders to do that. It's not a catch.
What do you mean by we?
Well, yeah, me.
Here's Reimold. Kuroda has now thrown a first pitch strike to 14 of 18 Oriole hitters that he has faced. I remember suffered a finger injury on a comebacker in his first start of the year against the Red Sox. Didn't get out of the second inning after that ball hit the middle finger of his pitching hand. Then in his next start against Cleveland, he gave up 3 runs in the first, although Joe Girardi said one ball hit the bag and another couple of ground balls were off the glove of infielders. And then he pitched into the 6th, didn't give up any more runs, and he got the win.
He shattered that bat right there. Those balls inside to righties and away to lefties have had great tail and sometimes sink when he keeps them down.
Or is it just instinct on a ball that comes your way back to the mound just to reach up?
They can tell you not to do this, but you're exactly right. And this was kind of self-defense, I think, that he was afraid maybe if I don't duck quick enough, I'd rather have my hand hit than my head. You can't plan your reaction when the ball's coming back at you that quick and you're concentrating on the target. You don't visualize the bat hitting the ball as a pitcher. You visualize the ball going through the catcher, through the whole area there, and being swung and missed at or taken. All of a sudden the ball jumps back at you. It's hard not to react and put your hand up or get something up.
Just high.
And that's really a play that you can't practice. In spring training, you do all the PFPs, balls hit back to you, but the coach hits them, they're grounders or one hoppers back to you because they don't want to have that incident. But yeah, that's something you just can't practice, and it is just a reaction. And a competitor's going to try to make a play.
2 down, full count. Flaherty will be on the move from first base. 3-2, swung on and missed, and the inning is over. Strikeout number 3 for Kuroda. We go to the bottom of the 5th. No score. Now welcome back to the Bronx as we go to the bottom of the 5th. No score between the Orioles and the Yankees in the rubber match of this 3-game series. So far on the young season, the Orioles are 6-5. Game back of Boston for the lead in the American League East. The Yankees are 5-5. Yankees had a couple of rainouts in Cleveland. They're going to have to play a doubleheader there on a Monday in May on their way home from Kansas City, just to get those games in. Brennan Bosch with some solid contact and his second hit of the night. Ichiro getting a night off. Joe Girardi giving Ichiro a day and playing a hunch, putting Bosch in there, and he's 2 for 2.
Well, Brennan Bosch coming up with Detroit, they thought he was going to be a 30 homer, 100 RBI guy. I mean, that's a really good stay-in swing against the right-handed. Not trying to hit it out of the ballpark, just trying to make solid contact, lefty on lefty. And so far, he's hit one to left field and out of right field. And I mean, if you're Joe Girardi, you got to be, and Kevin Long, you got to be really pleased with how he's swinging the bat against Chen.
They're not getting a whole lot out of Ichiro in the early going. He's hitting under 200. So Bosch steps in, has a couple of hits tonight, and here's Cervelli. Hit a fly ball to right field his first time up. Cervelli got a chance to play second base for an inning yesterday. Nix was at short. Nunez unavailable because of the injury. Yankees were down late. So Joe Girardi sent Bosch actually up to pinch hit for Nix. And then in the 9th inning, needed to move people around defensively. So Chris Stewart came in to catch. Cervelli went from behind the plate to second, and Cano went from second to short, just so they could figure it out. It was get a hit and then we'll figure it out. Bosch didn't get a hit, but they still needed to move some people around defensively. But Cervelli takes ground balls on the infield from time to time, and Vernon Wells said before the game that he's been out taking some ground balls at third the last couple of days. He said, you know, the way guys are dropping like flies, you never know who might be needed where. 0-2. Base hit left field. And the Yankees with 2 men on and nobody out.
Not a real pretty swing, but an effective swing right here. He comes right around this ball. Chen gets the ball up a little bit. It's like a change up around waist high, but Cervelli did a good job at least staying with it. Came around it, got over it, but got a nice line drive base hit.
And if that ball was down, that could have been a 5-4-3 double play, but elevated, you can still get not the barrel on it, but a good piece of the bat on it, and enough to get it into left field.
First time that either team has had a runner as far as second base in the game. 2 on, nobody out for Overbay.
And the fans are digging it.
Machado in on the grass. Will Overbay be bunting? Will he be swinging away? Swinging away.
Well, you call that a swing? I call that a self-defense.
Here's a guy who was with the Red Sox until the last week of March. Now he's the Yankee first baseman. Bosch was with the Tigers. Now he's with the Yankees.
J.J. Hardy's playing up the middle. Machado now creeping off the line. That first pitch, they had a huge hole over there. They've made an adjustment now, getting Machado off the third base line, guarding that hole.
Fly ball to right field. And caught on the track by Markakis. Back to tag at second is Bosch. And he'll scramble into third. Holding it first, Cervelli.
A number of great things happened on that at bat. First of all, Overbay pulling the ball, hitting it deep enough in left field to get the runner to third base with less than 2 outs. Great base runner by Brennan Bosch. And Nick Markakis made a great play coming back. But this is what you want to do as a left-hand hitter. Pull the ball, make a double play, harder to turn if you hit it on the ground. If you hit it in the air, Brennan Bosch can get back in time to tag and go to third base. I don't care how good arm Markakis has. He's not going to throw anyone out of third base from the warning track. So great at bat by Overbay, great base running by Bosch, and now the Yankees are in business.
Number 9 hitter, the shortstop, Jason Nix. First and third, 1 out. Nix 3 for 20 on the season.
like that pitch he's trying to get that roll over, that little two-seamer running away from Nix. If I'm Nix, I'm thinking the other way right now, because if he tries to pull that ball, he's going to hit into a double play.
He does send it the other way, right field, plenty deep enough. Markakis the catch. Bosch the tag. 1-0 Yankees.
Well, your first pitch of the at-bat when there's runners in scoring positions, usually the one that'll tell the hitter, this is how I'm going to try to attack you and get you out, or try to get a double play ball by going away. So Nix just sets his sights, okay, I'm going to hit the ball away. There's a breaking ball down and away. You see the approach by Nix. There's nothing in this swing that says pull. He's thinking the other way, either on the ground hard in that hole or hit it deep enough in the outfield to right field to score. Bosch from third base. A great piece of hitting by Nix.
And he drives in the first run of the night. Runner at first, 2 down, 1-0 here in the bottom of the 5th. And back to the top of the order for Brett Gardner. He's 0 for 2. Cervelli draws a throw. Gardner has yet to steal a base this season. He's only hitting .233. He's been thrown out twice. Missed almost all of last year with an elbow injury. Only appeared in 16 games. But the year before that stole 49 bases. The year before that stole 47 bases. Wow, he hits his ball a long way down the right field line and off the foul pole for a home run. Second of the season for Gardner, and the only question from contact was, would it stay fair?
Now the stadium's rocking.
Chen gave up 29 home runs last year and 192 innings, and sometimes he just gets the ball up too long. I think 10 of his outs tonight have been recorded in the air, and that one, when it's in the air and hits solidly, it's another one of those long balls that kind of creeps up and bites him. Nice piece of hitting by Brett Gardner, keeping that ball fair, that up and in fastball.
3 in the inning for the Yankees. Off the body of Machado. Safe at first, Wells.
Most of the times lefty on lefty, the lefty's going to give, the hitter's going to give a little bit. Gardner opened up his hips quick. Chen threw it right where his eyesight was, a little bit up in the zone, and Gardner just crushed that one.
That ball was about 8 or 10 feet from going over the top of the foul pole. He hit that ball so high and so hard. Second of the season for Gardner. And the inning continues. The last play scored as an error. An error charged to Manny Machado, allowing Wells to reach, and that'll bring Cano to the plate. Cano has struck out and walked. And a strike.
He's one of my favorite hitters to watch hit. His approach at the plate. He can hit a single to left or a 500-footer to right, but we saw in the Cleveland series he can hit him a long way to left field too. Makes him such a dangerous threat to pitch to.
Out of play. And an 0-2 count on to Cano, named the most outstanding player in the World Baseball Classic. 4-time All-Star, 4 Gold Gloves. Hits for power, hits for average. And one way or the other is going to be a very rich man at the end of this season. His contract is up.
Second baseman can hit in the middle of the lineup and hit 30, 35, 40 homers, drive in 100 runs. Yeah, he's going to do pretty well for himself. Oh, and he wins Gold Gloves too.
Yep.
I forgot. Good to be him.
One and two the count on a Cano. Runner goes, and it's sprayed foul. Let's go down to Buster.
Guys, you mentioned Robinson Cano with his contract situation. The Yankees were very pessimistic in spring training about whether they would get a deal done with Cano until he changed agents, firing Scott Boras, going with Jay-Z. They haven't started talking yet, but those talks are expected to start sometime soon, and the Yankees do believe that eventually they'll work something out with Cano.
Yeah, the feeling was that Cano leaving Scott Boras probably increased their chances of retaining him. You know it's going to be a lot of years and it's going to be a lot of money, and he's going to wind up being one of the highest paid players in the baseball. These are the largest contracts in the baseball by total dollar value for position players. Now you wonder if the Yankees, you know, in the midst, they're only halfway through that Alex Rodriguez deal right now. Would they dare go 10 years? Will they try to keep it to 7 or 8? How much fiscal restraint is there on the part of the Yankees? Those 10-year deals, boy, years. Some of them have the look of being in trouble by the time you get to the end of them, because those players are going to be into their 40s in some cases. Swing and a miss by Cano, but it's a 3-run inning for the Yankees, including the home run by Brett Gardner here in the Bronx. All right, guys, thank you. They got snowed out today trying to finish off that series against the Mets, but couldn't get it done. It's not snowing here, but it's not warm either. It's in the 40s right now as we go to the 6th inning, and the Yankees largely on the strength of a great performance by Hiroki Kuroda and a Brett Gardner home run of a 3-0 lead on the Orioles. And the top of the Baltimore lineup coming up against Kuroda: McLeod, Machado, and Markakis.
I know I'm new here, but couldn't you guys
get
a heater in here?
Yeah, in the middle of July when we're in Cincinnati or St. Louis, we'll be singing a different tune.
That's a 3-shirt game.
We'll be in Philadelphia next week, maybe a little warmer with another week's worth of spring under our belts. The Cardinals will be there to take on the Phillies. McLouth is 0 for 2, ground out and a fly ball tonight. That's appropriate amount of a little coffee, a little hot chocolate. Whatever you got to do. Driven to center field. Gardner with the room, 1 down. Major League Baseball and People magazine are looking to honor our nation's veterans and military service members. 30 of them, one for each MLB team, will be saluted at the 2013 MLB All-Star Game. To nominate, go to tributeforheroes.com. MLB.TV celebrating 11 years. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on your favorite supported mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV for details. Ground ball down to third off the bat of Machado, and Youkilis makes the play for out number 2. Machado 0 for 3.
1/3 sacker to another. Kevin Youkilis has a Gold Glove. I think Manny Machado someday will win a Gold Glove.
At short or third?
I would say third.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just going to keep getting bigger.
Youkilis actually winning that Gold Glove on the other side.
Yep.
First base for Boston back in 07, I believe it was. 2 down, and here's Markakis, a base hit and a strikeout. Well located fastball, outer edge, knee high, 0-1. Tried to backdoor him there with a slider, but he missed downside, a ball and a strike.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing about being the third hitter. When McLouth swings at the second pitch, I believe, and then Machado swings at the first pitch, you have to take something. 6th inning, and you got a guy that's pretty much mowing you down. You got to start taking some pitches.
1-1 grounded to second, and just like that, the inning is over. 3 up and 3 down go the Orioles. Kevin Youkilis due up and doing good Youkilis business here in the Bronx as well. Welcome back to Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. With Buster Olney, Oral Hershiser John Kruk, I'm Dan Schulman. That looks good. That's your own personalized ESPN steak for you there, Crucky. Kind of looking pretty good right now, huh?
Hold on, my mouth's still watering.
Here's Kevin Youkilis leading it off 0 for 2. Fly ball and a pop-up. Now we're going to Philadelphia next week.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
you got some good cheesesteaks picked out for us? That's your town, man.
Oral, I don't know if I can find him a salad and a fruit plate, but we'll do our best. But
you know what? I'm here for you.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I'm here for it.
Well,
yeah.
We share a lot together, man.
That's what we're talking about right there.
Yeah, look at that.
Little Philly cheesesteak next week.
Might have a vegetable on it somewhere.
Yeah. French fries are a vegetable.
Yeah.
Pat Steaks, Gino Steaks, Big John Steaks.
There you go.
With the Cherry Hill East.
Hey, if you set us up in Clearwater, I got confidence you're setting us up in Philly.
Let's not forget Bull's Barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bull's Barbecue.
Greg Lazinski. Oh man, the best ribs.
In comes Markakis. Youkilis retired one down. Let's take a look at where we're heading over the next 4 weeks here on Sunday Night Baseball. As mentioned, in Philadelphia next week as the Phillies host the Cardinals. Then the Atlanta Braves will be in Detroit 2 weeks from tonight. We'll have the Dodgers and Giants on the first Sunday of May, and then the Angels on the south side of Chicago to take on the White Sox.
Should warm up in Chicago by then.
Strike taken by Francisco. How about Atlanta, Detroit? That's got a nice ring, nice feel to it, huh? Two good teams. Braves, as we mentioned, are hot. They've won 9 in a row, got the best record in baseball at 11-1. Tigers, the defending American League champions. They won again today. They cooled off the Oakland A's a little bit over the last couple of days. Beat them 10-1 today.
Is that Annabelle Sanchez today? Justin Verlander with the radar gun going up the other day.
Austin Jackson, another big day for the Tigers today. Meanwhile, elsewhere around baseball, not everything is going so well for some teams. Significant injuries to significant players. And I guess maybe the biggest story to baseball the past week was the brawl between San Diego, between the Padres and Dodgers. Zach Greinke winds up with a broken collarbone, going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. Brendan Bosch is about it. What did you guys think about
Carlos Quentin dropped his appeal at 8 games suspension. He dropped his appeal,
which is good because the Padres are going to Los Angeles starting tomorrow.
Those things happen in baseball. I don't think Zach hit him on purpose. It was a 3-2 count.
One-run game.
2-1 game. There's a history though between them, and Carlos has gotten hit an awful lot in his career because he crowds the plate and kind of dives in
and doesn't give.
I think if you're going to have that approach to hitting, you're just going to realize that you're going to get hit a lot over your career, because pitchers come in and sometimes they miss and sometimes they come in for a purpose, but the purpose is not always to hit you, but just to make you uncomfortable, to show you that you will come in there. I don't think there was any way that he was trying to hit it at all.
Did you ever just kind of lower the shoulder when you saw a guy coming at you like that? And
it was kind of an odd fight. There was they didn't set up to throw a punch. They set up to kind of, I don't know, look like hockey, going into the corner to get the puck.
And Quentin talking about the fact that Greinke had hit him twice before, and then that Greinke said something to him at this point there as he stepped out, and that's what caused him to charge.
But he could have been saying, you know, I wasn't trying to hit you. It's 3-2.
Or get down to first,
or
something.
Serious, or any one word. Greinke did the right thing, turned and kind of didn't put his pitching arm in the way. The left shoulder took the brunt of it.
Bosch flies out, inning over, 6 in the books in the Bronx, 3-0 Yankees. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Mazda. We believe if it's not worth driving, it's not worth building. And Universal Pictures' Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise, in theaters and IMAX Friday. Grand Central Station, over 100 years old. 750,000 people travel through it every single day. You love living in this city, all right? When you played for the Mets a year, you love the hustle and bustle, the energy here?
I did. I loved it. It was outstanding. The year I got to play in San Francisco, got to live in San Francisco, was awesome.
Let's take a look at Hot Zone right now, brought to you by T-Mobile. Adam Jones, you can see this is last year. Up and in appears to be the place to get him. 250 or lower, up in the zone and up and in the zone.
Yeah, we didn't see any colored on the bottom of the strike zone because that wasn't below 250 or above 350.
What was your philosophy, Orel, on would you pitch to your strength or a hitter's weakness if you had to choose between the two?
I don't know what you had going that night. You see Hiroki Kuroda going right after the blue squares that we saw at the beginning of this at bat, up and in. And those squares would tell me, if I saw that in a scouting report, that you don't want him to extend his arms and you don't want to make mistakes in the middle of the plate at thigh high. Keep the ball down. If you don't keep it down, then go up and in.
Got ahead 0-2. Got a ground ball up the middle. Good range by Cano, but not enough on the throw, and Jones has an infield hit.
Looked like that Kuroda wanted to waste one down and away with a breaking ball to try to get back inside with that fastball on the 1-2 pitch, but Adam Jones wasn't going to have no part of that. And that's how you hit 400 early in the season. You get that reach out, punch it past the pitcher for a base hit. And of course, the great legs of Adam Jones hustling to first base the whole way.
Here's Chris Davis now. A ground out and a strikeout. Orioles are down 3-0, but have the leadoff man on here in the 7th. Davis 6 home runs, 19 RBIs already. Chases one in the dirt. A little over anxious, and the count is 0-1.
Well, he looked like he tried to get 2 runs on one swing right there on a first pitch fastball. Just cheating here in Yankee Stadium. Short right field porch, 3-14 down the line. And Davis with the hot bat early in the season.
Left-hander T.J. McFarland, a Rule 5 pickup from Cleveland, is up in the Orioles pen.
That swing by Davis tells me that Kuroda doesn't need to throw him a strike for at least 2 pitches to see if that aggressiveness stays true. Maybe he's going to try and get himself out.
Jones being held by Overbay. Strike 2.
Well, he's had that pitch all night. He's locked up a couple left-handed hitters earlier in the game. You got Markakis on a 2-strike fastball like that just comes back in a la Greg Maddux. And then Chris Davis got locked up early. You see that ball starts at their thigh and then just tails back over that inside corner. He likes to finish people there, but goes there early on this at bat.
How low the pitch count is too. That was his 78th pitch as he works here into the 7th inning.
Well, when you're pounding the strike zone like Kuroda is, you know, your natural instinct is, if I'm a hitter, I don't want to get to that pitch that starts at my knee and comes back over the inside part of the plate. So you're trying to get something early. Probably why Davis swung at the first pitch breaking ball, because he saw it. Even though it was a ball, sometimes you see a pitch well, but you swing anyway, even though chances are you're not going to hit it, but you know, you don't want to get to the pitch he can get you out with.
We're either going to get a split finger. I think we're going to get a split finger right here in the dirt.
So Cervelli hit the dirt.
Yeah. And so what they've got him doing, Crucky, and you know, he's got him in kind of a rocking chair. He's going hard in, which gets you to speed up, and then he's going soft away, which is telling the hitter you got to slow down if you're going to hit it. So if he makes his pitch, and I think he's going to try and finish him with that fastball in right here, because in a 1-2 count, he can really try and pinpoint this pitch right here. He doesn't care if he misses and it's a ball, but he doesn't want to make a mistake out over the plate. And with no outs, you want to stay away from that pitch where it could cause a walk later. I think you come try and lock him up in right now. And he went back to the split again in the dirt.
Looks like he's trying to get the double play with that split. Hopefully Davis gets out front, rolls one over to Cano, but now he can come back with that pitch, because if he locates it like he did on the second strike of this at bat, no matter what Davis does, if he hits it off the barrel, he's not going to hit it fair. It's impossible.
You see the one little pinky? Yep, that's the fastball in. He's going to start at his knee and hopefully try and get it to the corner.
Pulled it.
Kind of pulled it in there. His hand came around it, so it ended up acting almost like a cutter instead of a sinker that comes back.
I think he's got to come back to it. I think he came in off the plate there, 3-2, and now I think if he throws that same pitch in the same direction, but he brings it back over the center of the, over the inside corner, he's got him. Yeah, Kuroda wants to go back in there.
Yep.
3-2. Got him over the outside corner for strike 3 call.
This is quite an at-bat. You give up the base hit. Looks like the Orioles are trying to creep back in with no out. Adam Jones gets a single, and now you've got the big guy up there who's got 6 home runs already this early in the season, and he is working him away, and he's working him in. The split finger really did not have a good feel for it. He wasn't going to want to hang it with the short right field porch, so he kept spiking it in the ground. But when he had to go back to the fastball, he was able to make a pitch. This is not a good pitch as far as location, but it had really good movement.
And you remember, he just threw one that cut in on Davis, too, to back him off a little bit. So Davis was probably looking in, and when that pitch started in and then went over the outside part of the plate, it just tricked him.
Great night so far for Kuroda. That's 4 strikeouts. Hasn't walked a batter, leading 3-0 in the 7th. The batter is Matt Wieters. Lazy fly ball to left field. 2 down.
He worked him completely different than Davis right there. That was a little backdoor slider that got him out in front. You're sitting there in the on-deck circle. You're watching all these fastball in and splitters in the dirt, and all of a sudden he throws them a little. No, that was a splitter. It was not a. Let's take a look here at the grip. I think the splitter.
Like a backup slider.
Yeah, I know. I didn't see the split on the fingers on the grip, but he is definitely out in front, the off-speed part.
You remember his hit. Wieters got a base hit on a fastball away that he hooked. So you go soft away, and that's what you can do. That's all you can do with it.
Here's Hardy. 1 for 2 on the night. Each team with 5 hits in the game. 3-0 the Yankees lead. The big hit, the Brett Gardner home run, a 2-run shot off the foul pole in the 5th inning. Jones began this inning with a base hit. He is still standing over there at first base now with 2 down. So the Orioles have yet to get a man into scoring position at any point in this game. Good slider just off the outside edge. 0-2.
Yeah, back-to-back sliders right there.
He's got them all, Errol.
Yeah, he's very consistent and locates very well, and he's a professional pitcher. A 38-year-old that just doesn't melt down. And the Yankees, they keep him healthy throughout the year. He's going to put up some really good numbers.
Right at Cano. Inning over. Kuroda continues to get the job done here in the Bronx. Yankees with a 3-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th here in the Bronx. Time now to take a look at our game track. Brought to you by Jeep. You saw the big swing from Brett Gardner, the 2-run home run off the foul pole in the 5th inning. And Hiroki Kuroda has been a huge story here tonight. 7 terrific innings. Wei-Yin Chen gone after 6. And rookie left-hander T.J. McFarland is into the game and now for the Orioles. A Rule 5 pickup from the Indians. For those who don't know, that means he was not protected on the 40-man roster. Baltimore gets him, and they must keep him the entire season on the Major League roster or offer him back to the Indians for half the price that they paid to get him. And it's tough, guys, sometimes if you think you're a contender to carry a guy who maybe you can't use all that much. But the Orioles obviously think enough of McFarland that he's not just the 25th man on the roster. They think they've got somebody here who can help them this year, not just in the future.
Buck spoke highly of him today when we were meeting with him. He's a young kid. He won how many games in minor leagues did he say? 14 or 12 or 14 games in minor leagues last year?
Between AA and AAA.
So,
well, and you really like the fact that he's a young man. That normally when you get a Rule 5 pick, you're looking at maybe a left-handed specialist, maybe a 28, 29-year-old. He's got a bright future in front of him. They're just going to try and develop him here at the big league level.
The Orioles actually made a deal just a few days ago, dealt away Luis Ayala, a veteran right-hander. They had been carrying 13 pitchers. 8 relievers, went down to 12. And I feel they're getting enough out of everybody else, McFarland included, that they could afford to deal Ayala away for a minor leaguer.
They really like the sink on his fastball and the life on his arm. And just the first few pitches here I've seen, even though the count's 3-1, there is a lot of life on that arm right there. There's some good movement, good late movement.
Just low. And Cervelli draws the leadoff walk. More Major League action comes your way tomorrow and Wednesday on the ESPN family of networks. Monday Night Baseball presented by USAA on ESPN at 7 Eastern tomorrow. The Phillies and Reds opening up the series and then finishing up the series Wednesday night, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. Wednesday Night Baseball presented by T-Mobile. Both games also live on Watch ESPN. There's Lyle Overbay. Overbay, base hit and a fly ball. By the way, the Vernon Wells play back in the 5th inning, when originally an error was charged to Manny Machado, that's been changed now to a base hit for Vernon Wells. Did not figure in the scoring. Chen goes 6 innings, gives up 3 runs all earned, 5 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and allows the home run to Gardner. See, Wells is overjoyed at the fact that he's now got a base hit. He just found out that he's been credited with a base hit.
Just ruined my scorecard.
Hey, if your scorecard was in game shape into the 7th inning, I'm proud of you, big fella. That's the deepest you've taken it this year. By about 4 innings.
Well, you know, you had to build up the pitch count.
That's right.
Yep. You can't just do 9 innings the first start.
Yep. We had to back you off a little bit after some spring training games. You had that.
Some of us have good memories. I remember.
You do have
happened.
good memory for what happens. There's a swing and a miss, and Overbay is gone. 1 down. Well, tomorrow, April the 15th, the 66th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's Major League debut. One of the most important days in Major League history, and arguably maybe the most important player in Major League history. A Rookie of the Year, an MVP, a Hall of Famer, a World Series champion, and the man who broke baseball's color barrier on April 15th, 1947. There is only one active player wearing number 42. And as we all know, that's Mariano Rivera. Anybody who was wearing it back when the number was retired, allowed to wear it through to the end of their career. Rivera, for many, many years now, has been the only active player still wearing 42. There's Rivera hidden back there in the Yankee bullpen. And I know, Oral, we've done some Jackie Robinson days out in Los Angeles. And it is an extremely important day on the baseball calendar year after year. Ground ball down to third, and that's going to bounce through into left field off the bat of Nix, and the Yankees have 2 men on. And of course, on the field, Jackie Robinson was an absolutely electrifying player, winning games with his brain, with his heart, with his guts, and with his legs, stealing home in the 1955 World Series. Yogi said he was out. Jackie said he was safe.
Talked to Yogi a lot about that play, and he cannot believe he was called safe.
Being around the Dodgers, Oral, as you played for them, even though many years later and you were Los Angeles and Jackie Robinson was Brooklyn, there must have been a lot of reminders of Jackie Robinson over the years.
When the Dodgers were still in Dodger Town in Vero Beach, Florida, before they moved to Arizona, so many beautiful pictures of all the old Dodgers, and Jackie was in a lot of them, and just a very proud moment for the Dodger organization to be a part of that momentous occasion. But, what Mr. Robinson did for baseball and for our country will never be forgotten, and I think it's fantastic that Commissioner Selig retired his number, and that we continue every year to remember him.
And of course, in all games tomorrow, everybody will wear 42.
And the movie coming out now, which I'm going to take in pretty soon here.
1-2 the count on Gardner, who homered his last time up.
Great Harrison Ford plays Branch Rickey in the movie.
And one of the things we just read about a few days ago is that Commissioner Selig is setting up a committee to try to examine why there are fewer African Americans playing Major League Baseball now than there have been in many, many years, down to 8.5%. Based on opening day rosters this year. Dave Dombrowski, the president general manager of the Tigers, has been asked to head up a committee to look into that. Baseball has the RBI program, reviving baseball in inner cities, trying to find out ways to get more young African American kids involved in baseball.
CC Sabathia graduated from the RBI program. Adam Jones, there we just showed, has done a lot of work with kids to get them involved in baseball and get bats and balls and gloves in their hands.
2-2. A little pop-up, caught in foul territory by Machado. 2 down as we go down to field level again with Buster Olney.
Guys, Curtis Granderson has been doing the bulk of his rehab work down in Florida, but he's doing a really cool thing. He flew up here today, actually, so he could take kids from Abraham Lincoln High School to go see the movie 42 on Monday.
Well, terrific. Great job reporting that, Buster. And Curtis Granderson's a guy who does so many things beyond just what you see on the field.
Well, Mariano Rivera and Derek Jeter have worn the pinstripes with class and dignity, and this being Mariano's last year, you know, a fitting tribute for him to be the last one to wear Jackie's number, and the way he has handled wearing that number and the Yankee pinstripes, absolutely amazing. And Curtis Granderson is kind of carrying on that tradition of class and dignity of wearing the pinstripes, what he does all around baseball and in life.
Yeah, we got a chance to work with him during the postseason when he was with the Tigers, and what a great human being.
Wells grounds out to end the inning. 3-0 Yankees at the end of 7 of baseball, remembering Jackie Robinson tomorrow. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Mas. And in part by the makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of MLB, specially formulated for men. And Ford, go further, which is what Brett Gardner did on that swing. Opened up and hit it a mile down the right field line off the foul pole for a 2-run homer. Biggest hit of the night. Yankees take a 3-0 lead to the 8th in the rubber match of this 3-game series. And Hiroki Kuroda, 87 pitches through 7 to back out there to face Ryan Flaherty, Nolan Reimold, and Nate McLouth. Yankees off tomorrow. Begin a series at home against the Diamondbacks on Tuesday. Orioles head home. And we'll open up a homestand against Tampa Bay on Tuesday. Outside ball 1. Flaherty 0 for 2. Ground ball pulled to second. 1 down. Let's take a look at Do More, brought to you by Safeco. Hiroki Kuroda has done everything Joe Girardi could have asked for and more here tonight. So far going 7 1/3 shutout innings. Has not walked a batter, under 90 pitches, efficient, pounding the strike zone.
3 of those strikeouts are left-handers looking at that comeback fastball. He's really done a great job with his 2-seam fastball tonight, keeping it down, getting lots and lots of ground balls.
David Robertson now up in the pen for the Yankees. A ball and a strike on Reimold, who's got a base hit, and he's also struck out. Yankees winning on Friday 5-2. Orioles came back and won yesterday 5-3. 2 big plays on a Friday. Adam Jones, as gifted as he is in the outfield, dropped a deep fly ball, a catchable ball. 3 runs scored on the play. And also the Yankees turned one of the strangest triple plays you will ever see. Up and in on Reimold, 2-2.
How did it go, Dan?
4-6-5, 6-5-3-4, I think.
Yep. That's why I remembered it.
You remember pitch sequences and at bats?
No.
I got numbers. Fouled back. And I think I read somewhere it was the first 4-6-5, 6-5-3-4 triple play in a major league history.
You know what's sad about that? Someone probably has that documented.
We'll give you a look at it.
I'm sure there's someone at ESPN that has it documented. One of the research guys. As soon as it happened.
Long throw coming for Youkilis, and it skids under the glove of Overbay, so safe at first is Reimold. We'll wait for the scoring, but let's go back to Friday. Youkilis was in the middle of that triple play. First and second, nobody out. Manny Machado, hot shot, short hop by Cano. There's 1 out. Here comes the second out of the rundown, and Machado had rounded first, was thinking about going to second. They throw behind him, and then Overbay guns it down to Cano. Your Garden variety, 4-6-5, 6-5-3-4 triple play.
Yep. Just like they practice in spring training.
Error charge to Youkilis on that last play.
That play won't happen in midseason because they've already would have forgotten it, and they ran it so much in spring training.
Outside ball 1 to McLouth. Tough for the base runners, though. You could tell from the way the runners reacted. One thought Cano was going to catch it. One thought Cano was going to short hop it. Kind of no matter what you did, you were at risk.
If you're one of the base runners, you just run to a base and just hope that the umpires missed it, like they did.
Just go hug a base and hope for the best.
Just go stop on a base and make them tell you to get off.
Well, the Yankees were like little kids when they came off the field after the inning.
To me, they were the only ones that knew it was a triple play. I don't think anyone else did.
Kevin Euclid sure did. He was high-fiving anybody he could find. Doesn't he know the camera's on him? You're not supposed to adjust your socks then?
We wanted to get a nice face pick, and we just got the top of his head. You ever thrown a triple play?
I don't remember one.
You ever hit into one?
I don't think. No.
Could be a double play here.
Wow.
And it is. Well done.
That wasn't a triple play, but that was an outstanding play by Robinson Cano coming across the bag. Absolutely amazing. Watch him take this feed from Nix, and he barehands it going the other way. If he reaches across with his glove, he probably loses balance. It puts him right in time with 1 foot to the bag. Turn and 2, Yankees ahead, 3-0.
Bottom 8 in the Bronx. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. Dan Schulman, John Kruk, Oral Hershiser, Buster Olney. 3-0 Yankees. Bottom of the 8th inning. All 3 runs in the 5th. The Gardner home run accounting for 2 of them. Terrific double play turned by Nix and Cano to win the top half of the 8th inning. And here's Cano 0 for 2 with a walk.
Why do we always forget the first baseman on that?
I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. Deep fly ball caught by McLouth on the track. Terrific play by Overbay on that 6-4-3 double.
Couldn't have turned a double play without him.
Sean Kelly, Adam Warren. Kelly closer to you on the left, Warren on the right, just getting some work in, you would think. Normally, of course, you'd see Rivera up right now. Maybe those guys are just getting some work in, and Hiroki Kuroda's done so well, and the pitch count is so low. And Joe Girardi's not even thinking about using 42 tonight.
Maybe if someone gets on in the 9th, he might get him up.
Euclid tonight is 0 for 3.
Oral, when you see a guy like T.J. McFarland come in, we talked about his great movement. Is that difficult for a relief pitcher to come in and, you have to throw strikes coming in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning?
When you've got great movement like that, you can use the middle of the plate a little bit more. But as a youngster who's just starting to get used to the big leagues, you feel like you have to be perfect and throw the ball to the corner. But as he gets more experience, he's going to know that he can go to the middle of the plate, let the ball work for him. Right here in an 0-2 count, goes for a corner and makes the pitch. Euclid says inside. K-Zone says inside, but in an 0-2 pitch, I guess he earned the strike.
Are you kidding me? He said.
That's the passion that
that's
Joe
the one
Girardi
thing
loves.
I can tell you this about umpires. They don't kid you with that call. They're not joking. I've asked them too. In different ways. But, yeah, they don't joke around with that third strike call.
There's one to Francisco.
Did you ever toss a helmet or anything after what you thought was a bad call?
Tossed a lot of things. I've gotten thrown out once or twice.
Just a big misunderstanding.
They just understand my English, apparently.
1-2 on Ben Francisco. 2 down at the bottom of the 8th. 3-0 Yankees.
I never thought a pitch I didn't swing at was a strike. Never. And to this day, I don't.
You ever pitch as a kid?
Yeah. And I hated myself back then, too.
Inning over. 3 up and 3 down to go the Yankees in the bottom of the 8th. Hiroki Kuroda trying to finish what he started. Welcome back to Yankee Stadium. We are going to the 9th inning. This is Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, and Hiroki Kuroda has been outstanding through 8. And Joe Girardi is going to give him a chance to try to complete this ballgame. So consistent, steady, almost taken for granted. Meanwhile, Rivera is up in the pen along with the left-hander Boone Logan, just in case Kuroda needs some help. 99 pitches for Kuroda. Entering the 9th inning. 4 shutouts in his big league career. The last one came last August.
Why do you think Boone Logan's throwing?
Chris Davis. But
safe situation.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that Rivera guy's done some pretty good things in his career against lefties.
Machado, Markakis, and Jones.
Yeah, not that Boone Logan's not a good pitcher. I wouldn't be too fond of facing him, but I've had the great pleasure of facing Mariano, and that was very fun.
And have the bees in your hands to prove it.
That wasn't a fun at bat.
Kuroda saying,
yeah,
Mariano, all good.
Yeah, he's calling Joe right now, saying, Joe, call down the pen, tell him to sit down. I got this.
He's only given up 5 hits, has not walked a batter.
He's really been a machine tonight out there on the mound, the way he's been able to execute his pitches, and with this cold weather to have such great movement and great feel.
Broken to back, ground ball to short. One down as we send it down to Buster.
Guys, for years, hitters have protected their best bats from Mariano Rivera because, of course, he throws that cutter and has broken so many bats. Brady Anderson told me maybe the best story I've heard. When Roberto Alomar and Rafael Palmeiro were teammates with the Orioles, they actually would use a shorter bat that they called Stumpy only to face Rivera. Only against Rivera would they pull Stumpy out of the bat rack. Well, Brady Anderson had his bat blown up about a third of his at-bats against Rivera. So without asking permission, he pulled Stumpy out of the rack, and Rivera blew it up.
Oops.
Yeah, it's not like he's hitting the trademark. He's hitting right above their knuckles. Yep. So Stumpy or no Stumpy, it's shattering.
Well, you see a lot of left-handed batters who would try to step further away from the plate so he couldn't get in their kitchen, but then partway through his career, Oral, he started painting the outside corner with little backdoor cutters every now and again.
Yeah, I got to overhear a little of the conversation with Buster and Brady Anderson, and Brady was actually trying to think about maybe training himself to swing where the ball would be instead of swinging at the ball, but he could just never be able to pull the trigger on that, so they just continued to fight off being jammed by him.
Nix boots it and Markakis reaches.
Do you have a habit of eavesdropping?
No, I was invited into the conversation, but I didn't want to interrupt the rhythm of the story.
Okay.
Pretty routine right here. Just gets the heel of the glove. You don't see the eyes or the head come up.
What do you think he's thinking?
He was thinking maybe I was going to have a night off. Now I've got to turn it up.
Tying run into the on deck circle. Rivera might get some work in. Adam Jones comes up. Chris Davis on deck.
I would think he's more disappointed for Kuroda and the possible shutout being at risk and the W than for him to have to come in and work.
He has enough saves.
Yeah, 610.
Is that all? He's going to be pretty good someday.
Mm-hmm. He has more saves than the next two active leaders combined, Joe Nathan and Jonathan Papelbon. Rivera has more than the two of them put together.
And he has a major league record 74 saves against the Baltimore Orioles against a single team. 74 against one team. That's a pretty good career.
1-0 to Jones. Right at the knees for a strike. The error on Nix, allowing a runner to reach for the Orioles with one out of the ninth inning. Tying run in the on-deck circle right now. And Jones and Davis at bat and on deck. Two very powerful hitters, both off to great starts. Weekly hit toward third. Youkilis on to first for out number 2. Markakis to second. And now even if Davis gets into one, still a one-run game. Oral still looks like Kuroda's just as strong as he was early in the game.
Yeah, he looks outstanding, and he kept his focus even after that error at shortstop. And Jason Nix wants this thing to end because he's hoping that he gets his starting pitcher that shutout, make that routine error, and this thing would already be over. So he is really hoping to get in the dugout.
Davis 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. If he can do anything to keep this game going, then Matt Wieters would come up next.
The thing I like about what Kuroda's done tonight is even from the stretch he has great movement on his pitches. A lot of guys lose either velocity or movement pitching from the stretch. His seems to get better. Maybe that's why they haven't scored.
Yes, he did. 1-2.
Well, veteran adjustment right there with pitch selection. Chris Davis has struck out twice on fastballs inside that came back over the plate looking. And you wouldn't think that he would probably be looking for something like that, so they go split finger away. It'd be interesting to watch to see how they finish him off here. We'll try to.
Here it comes.
Got him. What a performance by Hiroki Kuroda. His 5th major league shutout. As he goes the distance on a 5-hitter, and he is an easy choice as tonight's Chevrolet player of the game. 5-hit shutout for Kuroda, and the Yankees defeat the Orioles 3-0 and take 2 out of 3 in this early season series between these two American League East Division rivals. Got some help from his defense, got some help from Brett Gardner hitting the 2-run homer. Mariano Rivera wasn't needed, and smiles all around for the Yankees as they take 2 out of 3 from the Orioles. The Yankees now 6-5. Baltimore drops to 500 at 6-6. Major League Baseball continues on ESPN tomorrow at 7. The Phillies taking on the Reds in Cincinnati. Next tonight is SportsCenter. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Oral Hershiser, John Crockett, Buster Olney, I'm Dan Shulman saying so long from the Bronx.